Morning, everyone. Afternoon, evening, whatever it may be where you are. Welcome to the first of hopefully many videos presented to you from Hazelmere Community Rugby Club around mental health and well-being. This little section is being sponsored by Mindset, who are a well-being consultant in the retail and hospitality areas. They are a company who can deliver mental health first aid England, mental health first aid training and mind charity training as well. And they're there to help with the creation of wellbeing policies within companies also. With me today, we have Danny Leeds, who is Hazelmere's first team captain, and Daniel Brokehurst, who is Hazelmere's senior head coach, and I also believe under 14s? 12s. Kids.
Close, yeah.
And under 12s head coach. So we're just going to be talking to these two about mental health and their experiences with poor mental health and what we can do and how they've managed to overcome it. So, Dan, do you want to give yourself a quick intro? And then Danny, do you want to give yourself an introduction?
Yep, okay, can do. So I've been with the club 6-7 years, grassroots level, obviously under 6s up to under 11s, but I've also been involved in the other age groups as well, and now the seniors for the last 18 months. Coaching, outside of that, do recruitment. And yeah, that's where we are.
Danny, do you want to?
So yeah, I'm Danny. I'm the first 15 captain at Hazelmere. I've been with the club just over a year now. Played football up until I was about 20, then had enough of it and decided to kind of step into rugby, and just took to the game completely and the whole family and community feel of the club. Outside of rugby, I work for Harlequins, running an education program, and I've recently created my own business called DL Coaching, which is around mindset and performance. So linking into some of the stuff that you do as well, Matt.
Lovely. So this is just a general chit chat about mental health experiences with what we've done to overcome them, that sort of thing. It's going to be pretty free flowing. So I guess, Danny, start with you really. How have you been affected by poor mental health?
So I'll use the word that we were talking about before, my journey through mental health. Thinking about it now and looking at it from kind of a professional's perspective, my mental health journey probably started when I was around 8 or 9. Really, now I've really kind of dug into it and looked at it. Around that time, my parents separated, and my dad left the home. My dad was kind of my biggest role model and still is my role model growing up. And obviously he left, and that took a bit of an effect on me in terms of behaviour at home, behaviour at school. Didn't quite feel right. There was a lot of anxiety around going out the house and going to school. Obviously I'm looking at this now with my professional hat on. Back then it was just, I don't want to go to school. I'm not doing it. So I think that's where it really began for me. At that time, I went down the route of comfort eating. So I ate an awful lot of food. I put on an awful lot of weight between the ages of 8 and probably 12, 13, to the point where I started secondary school at around 22, 23 stone. So as an 11-year-old. So we could look at it almost as a bit of an eating disorder there as well, and just gorging all the time to kind of satisfy that need and that kind of feeling inside me.
So moving on from there, you're growing up, becoming an adult. Do you still have episodes of poor mental health, or are you?
So obviously with that situation, moving on, I won't say fixed myself, because I don't think you ever fix yourself from poor mental health. I think it's there. You learn to cope with it, and you put strategies in place to support yourself. However, moving forward to being a 16, 17-year-old, I had an event in my life that really knocked me for 6, and that's probably where I started to explore professional help around my mental health. And unfortunately, my brother passed away when I was 17, or 2 days before my 17th birthday. So at that point, I knew that something was happening inside my head. So went to see my GP, was diagnosed with anxiety and depression. So it's kind of been a massive part of my life growing up. And yeah, I still have days where I'm not in the right frame of mind. I don't want to get out of bed, but it's something that I've learned to cope with, and there's strategies in place around that. And I've found sport a massive help for myself, and just having that physical outlet to kind of not get through a day, but to push myself and to have something else to focus on rather than what's going on in my head, really.
So you're talking about coping strategies and getting through the day and bits and pieces like that. So obviously they're going to vary between people, to person. So do you have any tips, hints that you use that you want to share, or does it vary day to day?
It varies day to day, but I think the biggest thing that I've found, and this is something that I've got better at as I've got older, is just talking to someone. I used to think that by speaking to people and telling them what's going on in my life, that's burdening them. But as I've kind of gone from being that 17-year-old lad with depression, anxiety, not wanting to do much, finding sport and using sport as an outlet, and then kind of moving on, actually speaking to the people around me and the people that care about me. So my parents, for example, my wife, friends, whoever it might be, just sharing that experience with them, because it's something that affects an awful lot of people, and it's something that we've done better at talking about it. But there's still some work there to be done around kind of opening up to other people around you, and that's probably one of the biggest things that I've found helps is chatting to people.
Obviously that's individual to the person, though, because some people might not be ready to open up, but I guess knowing that you've got someone there if you wanted to is key, rather than being forced to open up. I suppose it's that knowing that you can if you want to, that I think is great, because there are times that I don't want to open up, there are times I don't want to be talking about it, but knowing I have the option, I suppose, is a good thing.
Yeah, definitely. I think knowing that there is a person on the end of the phone, or there's someone, for example, down a rugby club that you can chat to if you want it. Obviously, it is quite difficult. And as said, growing up, that was something that I found really, really difficult to manage for myself, was opening up to people and having that person or people there who know what's going on a little bit and are ready there if you need them is just fantastic.
So you run an educational program with Harlequins. Do you see that things are improving that area with kids and youngsters, or are we still a long way from where we need to be?
I think there's been some fantastic work done by various different bodies and people to kind of open up that conversation around mental health. And I think especially in young men, showing that it's not a sign of weakness. It's actually a really positive thing to talk and get it out there. So I think some good work's been done. There's still a long way to go, I feel, though. But I think slowly we're getting there.
Dan, and in your experience as a coach in general, and as the under-14s coach, do you find that the youngsters are better at opening up about things, or is there still a stigma attached to mental health?
No, I'm not sure they are better at opening up. I think this lockdown piece for me has been really interesting, actually, and I've been looking at my kids in particular. So if I look at Sam, for example, he is in that year 6 that went back to school, but they've gone back to school in a very different way. They've gone back to school in a way that says they can't kick a ball to each other, they can't play with each other in the normal sense. So I've been talking to him every day, and I go and pick him up from school every day, and I bring him back, and I'm like, right, how was your day? And he's like, good. What did you do? Well, I stood on a yellow dot and I spoke to my friends. I'm like, well, what did you talk about? Well, we spoke about what we watched on TV. We spoke about this. We spoke about that. And he finds it quite difficult because he's not used to communicating with people in that way. So Sam plays football, he plays rugby. The games in the playground are all based around those games. Their entire communication from the age of 6 for him up until the age of 11, where he is now, is based around sports. which he can't play at the moment. So this is the first time in his life where he's actually sat down opposite someone in a playground and just had a chat. Just sat down and talked about some thing that happened in their day or whatever, and he's in an environment where there's kind of 6 or 7 girls and there's 2 or 3 boys. So the girls are talking about Sugar Rush, which is supposedly a girly program that Sam doesn't really want to know about because it's all sparkles and girl stuff. And Sam is wanting to talk about other stuff, or usually detracts himself from the conversation by playing sport. So he's in a scenario at the moment where he's facing some difficulties because he actually has to have a conversation. So this is quite a new thing right now for these kids. And I don't see there's been a real change yet, but this might be quite a positive change.
Because he's forcing them to have conversations about things that are happening rather than just talking for talking's sake.
Well, they can't hide behind the fact they play football, or they can't hide behind the fact they play rugby. So actually now they've got 15 minutes where they've got to sit down and just, hi, how are you? What have you been doing?
Yeah, it's going to be a change for those guys. And I imagine it's until we all get back to sport, it's going to be quite a different thing. And if they don't have that shared interest, what do they talk about? So yeah, it's quite interesting. So talking about lockdown, how have you guys found it? I know we're going to explore more of this for the rugby club in our next chat, but how have you guys found lockdown? What's it done for you? Has it been a good experience, a bad experience?
Me personally, great. I've really enjoyed it. I've interacted more with my kids than I've ever done before. Got more involved with their education than I've ever done before. I'm home for 3 meals a day, which I've never done before. We've cooked 3 meals a day, which we've never done before. Chinese takeaway is suffering because we're not ordering. This has been great. Absolutely fantastic. I've been able to go outside in the garden and train. I think I said to you, Danny, before, I'm so pleased I had a garden. Without that garden, this would have been a different experience.
Yeah.
The weather's been amazing. Without that weather, this might have been a different experience.
Yeah, completely.
But for me, there's so many positives that I want to take from this into whatever normal we move through to.
Danny, how's it been? You're a different generation to me and Dan. We've both got kids. We've both, got gardens and whatnot. And I don't know whether you have, but we've had all those things to deal with. What about you? What's it been like for you?
No, I completely agree with Dan. I think this lockdown has come at a really good time for me personally. It's allowed me to understand myself a bit more, where I want to be going in my life and where I want to be in the next 5 years. It's allowed me time to think. I've trained, as Dan was saying, I've trained when I can. I've taken up yoga, which is one thing I never thought I'd take up. I've taken up journaling, which has been...
Danny, sorry, is that the new form of peer pressure?
No, not at all. Purely it was my idea to do it. I've gone out, I've bought a yoga mat, so I've gone full out on it. I'm not quite there on the lycra yet, though. Maybe crack that out for pre-season, maybe.
Because the next Wellbeing episode after Mental Health Week is Danny and his yoga. Yeah. Have to get that one. Danny's Guide to Yoga.
But yeah, it's been fantastic. As I said, I've been journaling, which has allowed me to get whatever's in my head out on paper at least twice a day. It's helped me track my mood and what I'm getting up to. Mindfulness, a word that's been thrown about within education specifically over the last 4 years that I've been involved in education, and it's something that I've always brushed off and gone, I don't want to sit in silence with my legs crossed, trying not to think. It's just never been something for me, but it's something that I've found something that works and just allows me to have 10 minutes peace in my day. my front room is turning into a library. I think if I buy any more books off Amazon, A, the wife's going to kill me, and B, I'm going to be turning Jeff Bezos into a billionaire. So it's just been fantastic. As I alluded to in the intro, I've had the opportunity to launch my own company. Obviously, who would launch a company during a lockdown? But it's something that's going well, and I'm posting content out daily, getting some good feedback from it. So it's allowed me to grow as a person and really develop my skill set.
Cool.